By the way,
you can find all sorts of new video content on the Score North TikTok channel.
Oh, yeah.
We have dove into the world of TikTok aggressively the last few weeks. Judd has already hit a couple of viral home runs with his videography, and we're almost to 1,000 followers. Almost to 1,000 followers. So hit us up on TikTok if you partake.
Love the TikTok. Love the TikTok. TikTok.
Judd texted me the other day. He's like,
I'm now addicted.
What's the deal with TikTok? Is it just a bunch of like borderline like college-age women doing dances wearing almost nothing? Like that's like half of TikTok. And the other half is like,
good, though.
I noticed that too. I'm like, I'm scrolling through my feed like the first time going through TikTok. I'm like, why is it like, is this, what's happening right now?
Honest conversation with the Score North TikTok account. So obviously I have 2 accounts now on LinkedIn on my I have my TikTok, which I just use to scroll aimlessly and finding those ridiculous videos, and I have the Score one. But my friends obviously send me TikToks of the most randomest things. It could be what you're referring to. It could be something goofy. And I have clearly kind of skewed the Score North homepage algorithm because now I'm getting a bunch of Declan things on the Score North account because I open a tweet or a text from someone who sends me a TikTok, and it goes to Score North because I'm defaulted on that one. So this kind of a funny situation.
This happens with Declan and I on the Purple Daily and Score North YouTube accounts. And that like now the algorithm just serves golf swing fix videos and like old 90s wrestling clips.
Correct.
It's just like scrolling through. It's all we watch.
That's our fault.
So anyhow, welcome in. Statements here on this Monday as well. And boys, we didn't really discuss what we all have for statements. I definitely have something Wolves related. Where do you guys want to start? I'll leave it up to Judd. Where do you want to start with? I have a great / terrifying travel story to tell you in statements today.
I would like to start with a Declan Vikings statement.
Let's do it.
Because the one person that we have not heard yet from on the Purple is Declan Goff.
Okay, I have one. My opening statement is I told you so. My opening statement is I told you so.
Okay.
Was it 3 weeks ago? 2 or 3 weeks ago on this Monday statement, I came on the show and I set the complete panic alarm and spread wildfire on this Vikings team. And now I know that preseason week 1 had like 38 starters out or whatever the hell it was.
31
it was
players.
Exclusively backups.
Yep, 30 plus players.
I don't know how you walk away from that game, even with all those backups playing so poorly, and still say, everything's going to be fine. I think this Viking season is trending in a terrifying hurricane of crap. And I'm going to brag that I told you so. And yes, some of my convictions were a little off base. I know I went off on the defense, but I told you so. And I wrote that down. This Viking team is going to go off the rails. Now, Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, you're talking about 2 very good quarterbacks there carving up the Vikings. So I do want to throw that jab in as well. But I'm going to say with my opening statement is, I told you so. So
all
thank
right,
you.
First of all, this is way premature. And I'm here acknowledging the red flags and the alarms along with you guys as well. I think you guys are much quicker in football and maybe even in life to just be alarmists and say, oh my God, the house is on fire.
Yes.
And I'm still sitting over here meditating, thinking, observing, and saying there's a month before the regular season. And like Declan said, 31 starters were out of that game. So I'm not quite toward where Declan is, which is not only is Declan panicking, he's already doing a victory lap saying that he has won. He's won. Like we're a month from the season, and Declan's already doing the I told you so victory lap, which is amazing.
I am not, to be very clear, on Team Declan here. I'm not with him on this. Look, the backups were terrible. But here's my thing. I think it's a positive. You saw what you needed to see.
Yeah, hit that waiver wire, baby.
And guess what you did? You didn't get starters hurt. And guess what? Last year proved something. I don't think starters need to play exhibition games. They stepped right in. Look, the first month plus of football is not great. Like, it's okay, but it's not great. And it develops. But the preseason does not really sharpen good players. It just takes time. So I actually like what they did. It proved who could play. It proved who couldn't play. It sounds an important alarm, but it's a secondary alarm. It's not the first. It's not the first because the first was guys standing and watching on the sidelines.
Yeah. So on the waiver wire, because that's Mike Zimmer basically said it without saying it, that, you know, hey, we ran a lot of these guys out, chance to solidify backup jobs, and some of them did, some of them didn't. So I think he said specifically some of them proved us right, some of them proved us wrong. Yes. That they can handle playing in an NFL football game.
He's on
And so you might think, well, okay, so how is the waiver wire going to help you? Like, why would you just want like other teams' garbage players that couldn't make the roster as well? Well, that's the weird thing about the NFL. Sometimes there's just going to be like 9 or 10 fairly established players that just get cut. It happens all the time in the NFL.
Yeah.
So there will be 2 or 3 guys, and the Vikings have left themselves a little cap space, maybe anticipating some of this, right? They may be looking around saying, well, we're definitely not going to want Nick Vigil as our third linebacker, and so let's save a few $1 million in cap space in case someone comes off the books and we need to make a move. So I do think they can improve this thing through the waiver wire. But one last point, 31 starters out makes such a huge difference, like I said earlier in the show, of how we feel today and yesterday. So I am not nearly where Declan's at yet. I am acknowledging there are things to be looking sideways at, but we're not there yet.
I said this. The score, to me, does not matter. Some of the performances do. It's that simple.
Okay.
But, I mean, that is as close to what we see in a spring training game as you could possibly get. And we don't panic about those.
I mean, you do sometimes, let's be honest.
You do.
You've definitely
about spring training games?
You've definitely panicked about spring training before. Yeah.
Individuals sometimes, maybe. I don't think I've
you
ever
probably
panicked about a final score. We're not panicking about a final score. You guys are labeling me, damn it. That's not fair.
All right, Judd, your first statement.
Oh, boy. Very upset. All right. I'm going to keep it on Vikings because you can't go wrong when you keep it on Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Browning, among the things that I am going to panic about, Jake Browning cannot be the backup quarterback on this team. He simply put cannot run a game well enough. And he's been on practice squad for 2 years, okay? He didn't play in a game last year ever. I know that Kirk Cousins has started every game except for one, and he was held out since he became the starter for the Washington football team in 2015. He's not vaxxed. That's a concern. But I need a quarterback. I don't need him to be great. I don't need him to be, oh my God, this guy should start now. But I need a quarterback who can run a game. And Jake Browning, with the second team, yes, but it's still important, looked at times like that assignment was too tall for him. And I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying it was a valuable thing to learn.
I think oh, sorry, go
continue.
ahead.
Oh, no, yeah.
What's weird about that point, though, is, and I need to see 2 more games. We're going to see a lot more Jake Browning in the second and third preseason games, so I will have more of a fully formed opinion after those games. But Mike Zimmer raves about his leadership, his ability. He's a get-it-done guy, quote-unquote, right? You guys did an episode on that late last week. I mean, it was it was an indirect shot at Kirk Cousins. You have never once heard Mike Zimmer say those things about Kirk Cousins. Have you ever heard him praise Kirk's leadership or say he's a get-it-done guy and referring also to the 2-minute drill, right? Never. Right. Never have those words come out of Mike Zimmer's mouth about Kirk. Has he ever said anything overly complimentary about Kirk in 3.5 years? No.
He avoids talking about him at all costs if he can.
Yep. Which should tell you something. And so on the flip side, he doesn't dole out praise for quarterbacks, period. When Case Keenum was having this historic season, right? Like he basically found a way to but Case Keenum almost every single game. Yeah, but we can't be taking risks, right?
Sure.
And then he would talk sometimes about his toughness and his leadership, but he loves Jake Browning's toughness, leadership, get-it-done ability. And so wouldn't you think those things would translate to, at a bare minimum, being able to lead and run the offense? And then if he makes mistakes, it's because the game is too fast, or maybe he doesn't have the arm talent or something. Yeah. I just think, I'm not saying he's a starting quarterback caliber guy, but I think there's more to be seen in the second and third preseason game before I'm ready to write him off like you are.
I think you have to be very concerned because this team is too good, in my opinion, to have to plug in Browning. And because of Kirk's situation going into this year, I think that there's a chance that's going to happen. And I will say, I believe 90% of what Zimmer has said about Browning is based on taking shots at Kirk. I think it's 10% praise.
He's using Jake Browning as like a surrogate to just rip on Kirk.
Guys, Mike is great at this. Like, Mike has a goal.
True.
Mike thinks, Mike, if you don't do what Mike wants, Mike's going to get you. I believe Jake Browning is the poster child for Mike to say, I don't even know if I like this guy, but he's not Kirk, so I'm going to like him.
Jake Browning is the Trojan horse that Mike Zimmer is riding in on to just blow torch Kirk
Mike
Cousins.
has done this before.
We've seen Krueger. I'm going to get ya. He's Freddy Krueger going to come to get
He's
Kirk.
done it before, you guys. We've seen it before. Look, the simple thing is Kirk Cousins is putting, in Mike's opinion, and he might be right, is putting Zimmer's job in jeopardy. And he's putting the entire team in jeopardy. And he is, one of, if not the most important player on the team. And Mike is not going to let that go without some vengeance coming Kirk's way.
Yeah, all right, that's fair enough. Just want to check, do you guys have any more Vikings statements or takes you want to get off your chest, or can I be self-serving with a Timberwolves Summer League statement?
Yeah, I think be self-serving here.
Okay.
Be self-serving.
Go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
no.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So if you're like me and you need, like Judd wakes up in the morning, he either needs a Diet Coke or a coffee. Declan, you're a coffee drinker, aren't you?
Big coffee guy. Yep, big coffee
so
guy.
You guys, well, I'm not a coffee guy. I'm a Wolves Kool-Aid guy, all right? When I wake up in the morning, I take out my flask of Wolves Kool-Aid, take a couple little sips, gets me started for the day. And that's what I did this morning, boys. I didn't see the game yesterday, but I caught up on the highlights. And here's my statement. The Wolves Summer League team is offering some real hope for this roster. Did you see Declan's guy, Jaden McDaniels, grabs the rebound, 7 seconds left, down by 3 to the vaunted Philadelphia 76ers Summer League team. Coast to coast, calls bank on a Sunday, and ties the game, sends it to overtime, and the Wolves win 4-0 in Summer League. You got Jalen Noel averaging 22 points a game. He's been one of the best offensive players at Summer League so far. And then, by the way, even to cap it off, you want the team to be a bunch of good, nice guys. To write Jaden McDaniels, after the game was over, he's interviewed by former WNBA legend Monica McNutt is the sideline reporter. And Renee Montgomery, friend of the show, from a few years ago, is doing color commentary. She's awesome on color commentary. Okay,
she's really good, but I love friend of the show. That was like 4 or 5 years ago.
We launched her media career.
Old friend of the show. Yeah.
And so after the game is over, Jaden McDaniels gets done with the interview, and he says, "Thank you, have a nice day." Not in like a sarcastic way, but he tells the women, "Have a nice day," and like waves to them and walks away. Like, I mean, how can you not have optimism and hope for the Wolves after watching the 4-0 start to Summer League?
I'm in.
I think you went through the same thing 2 years ago. The Wolves played really well, and no, I don't think we had Summer League last year, but I think 2 years ago they played really well, and Phil basically was like, "This is exciting."
Listen, all right, I don't remember what I said 2 years ago. I'm on to the next take, always here.
Oh my
eyes
God,
are forward here on Mackey and Judd.
That's great.
All eyes forward. All eyes
You
forward.
know what? I don't care. I don't care if the Ron Artest, Jermaine O'Neal, and that Pacers team that went in to the stands at the Palace. And by the way, that doc on Netflix, Malice in the Palace, is fantastic.
I haven't watched it
yet. It's
Yeah,
really good.
Need to see it.
But anyway, I don't care if these guys go into the stands, just win some damn basketball games.
Wait.
You're
encouraging the Wolves to fight the fans?
I'm saying if you want to fight the fans, that's fine. Fight the fans, just win some damn basketball games. That's all I want.
Oh, you don't care if they're nice guys, is what
I don't care if they're nice. Yeah, I don't care if they're nice guys. But what I'm saying is if Jaden McDaniels wants to go beat up a fan, I don't give a crap. Just win basketball games.
No.
Why are you putting that into the atmosphere right now?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to speak
Because I watched the documentary
at the Palace?
Because I watched it. It's really good. It's really interesting. I'm intrigued by old school NBA.
There is, by the way, a great Q&A. If you want like super in-depth 5,000 words in the weeds Q&A with Chris Finch, Timberwolves coach, Britt Robson, Athletic today. You can check it out. It's like full on what he wants to do offensively, his defensive philosophies. Basically, my main takeaway from that Q&A was Chris Finch has stripped away almost all of the play calls that they were running under Ryan Saunders and saying, we just set up specific like framework, and then we want our guys to react to what's happening on the court. And some of the guys initially were like, well, what do we do without like 4 different set calls within a play? He's like, oh, figure it out. Read the defense. And so I kind of like that. I like that he's trying to create some free-flowing. I shouldn't put this in the same sentence, but that's what Phil Jackson's coaching style was too. It was triangle.
You just did though.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that.
So who's Pippen? Who's Jordan?
I'll just stop.
Yeah.
Who's Rodman? I want Rodman.
I'll stop right now.
He'll beat you up too, and win basketball games.
You know what? If you guys don't respect my basketball takes, maybe you'll respect my golf takes. PXG Minneapolis.
Okay, now we're on the right track.
Is a golfer's paradise, and you can check out the new Gen 4 clubs, drivers, fairways, hybrids, irons. These are PXG's flagship clubs. You still have several months left. I always think golf season in Minnesota runs all the way through early December if you can find the right courses.
Yep.
It's great. There's nothing like golfing at like 33 degrees, just slightly above freezing. Nobody else is around. So if you want the best performing clubs, you want to look sharp, PXG Minneapolis, Southdale Center. Check them out at pxg.com/Minneapolis. All right, back to Declan.
All right, my next one's a Wild statement. And by the way, the Wild just tweeted out, by the way, the Minnesota Wild team account just tweeted out eyeball emojis and nothing else. Eyeball emojis.
Is that the Fiala? Is that Fiala?
And I hope it's not, because
it is.
That would be lame if it's that.
I've got thoughts I'm not going to give them.
Okay. Well, I'll just say this about my statement as we monitor maybe Jack Eichel watch, because that's where my mind is going. Anyway.
It'd be Kaprizov. If it's really good news, it's Kaprizov.
There
it's not Jack Eichel.
That's my statement. Please go take care of Kaprizov, because earlier this morning, the Minnesota Wild were able to come to terms with Kevin Fiala, a 1-year, $5.1 million contract for next season. So they were going to go to arbitration tomorrow. Fiala's camp, I believe, put out 6.2. Wild Judd showing his Wild oven mitt, which I use all the time. I love my Wild oven mitt. I got that 4 or 5 years ago, too. It's a great oven mitt. It's a phenomenal oven mitt. I believe the team went like 4.6, so they have settled on a 1-year, $5.1 million deal with Fiala. That's great. Fiala's taken care of. We all knew he was going to be under contract because they were going to go to arbitration. Now it's time to go take care of Kirill Kaprizov and this contract dilemma. I know he wants hard this 3-year deal, but for God's sakes, just Bill Guerin meet somewhere in the middle. Let's take care of this issue. You still have like $14 million in cap space or whatever it is. Yep. So please go take care of Kirill Kaprizov. This Fiala situation, they're going to have to deal with this again next summer because he'll be an RFA. And if he has another season like he did, Kevin's going to ask for the moon again. And I'm curious how the Wild will still figure out a way to pay him. But regardless, in the short term, Fiala's taken care of. Now, please go take care of Kirill Kaprizov.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bally Sports North retweeted the Wild's eyeball emojis with 3 additional eyeball emojis. I think maybe we need to step in here with the Score North account and put at least 5. 5 or maybe 6.
No, actually,
I can do that.
Retweet them.
Okay.
With a question. When's the Eichel press conference? Because that's going to confuse people then, and they're going to be like, "Oh, no, it's not Eichel. You can't do that. You can't do that." You know what? You want to play this game? We'll play this game. You eyeball emoji from a team account. We're going Eichel. We're assuming Eichel, and then you're going to have to tell us it's not Eichel. Let's all grow up here before we do the eyeball emoji.
Should I do it? Should I hit send from Score account? Should I do this?
Yes. What's the tweet?
When's the Eichel press conference?
I like it. Let's do it.
It causes confusion. It's great because you know what? We here at Score North and Sportsnet in particular, all about teaching lessons.
All right, there you go.
We're all about teaching lessons.
I love Judd. This is what you're getting here is you're getting a sort of a whiff in a good way of Judd's beat writer spidey sense and his tactics of smoke them out. You got to smoke them out.
I'm a big smoke them out guy.
Yep. Hey, if they're not going to tell you, then you need to start making some educated guesses and assumptions and get them to
Yep.
There we go.
And then teams are like, no, that's not what we meant. So
then what did you mean?
Yeah. So tell us what you meant.
I love it.
That's very good, Phil. That's exactly what I'm doing. I love smoking teams out because teams always lose because they can't afford to be like, bleep you. Yeah. Then they're like, oh, well, we really can't. No, but we can't talk about that. Well, then you shouldn't have put the eyeball emojis out.
Let's do one more statement from Judd, and I'll give you my. I have back-to-back weeks with travel stories.
Beautiful.
For you guys. This one's going to be even juicier.
Here's my final statement for this Monday. The celebration of the 91 Twins World Series title this weekend, while fun, was also really sad. Since 1991. The Wolves, the Wild/North Stars, the Vikings and Twins have represented Minnesota in 0 championship series. So not only have they not won a championship, because the North Stars went to the Stanley Cup Finals in the spring of 91, and then the Twins obviously won the World Series in the fall of that same year. Not only have they not won titles, but the 4 men's teams that we follow the closest in the state haven't even been to a championship series / Super Bowl. That's just sad. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of people who I talked to at Target Field on Sunday who either weren't born or have no recollection of that team. Mm-hmm. In 91, no recollection. I feel for you. Like, that's not fair to you. Mm-hmm. You deserve better.
I'm doing some number crunching here, too, real quick here. So, since 1991, the Twins have 1 playoff series win. So, I know there's been some regular season success, and they've won some divisions, and they definitely had a run of, like, almost 10 years or so, 10 years of mostly good baseball. We'll say 2001 through 2010, right? And then they've popped up a little bit a couple times under Falvey and Levine. But if my math is right, if you go to the playoff game record, so what is their record in playoff games since 1991? Well, they didn't play in a playoff game for the first 10 years of that stretch. I believe they have 6 playoff game wins. So the 3 against Oakland in 2002, and then they won 1 game against the Angels. They beat the Yankees.
Won game 1.
Yep, they beat the Yankees once in 2003, and they beat the Yankees once in 2004, and they haven't won a playoff game since then. So that's 6 wins.
I should have done this math. That's this good.
So hold on. So 4, let's count the losses here. So 2 losses against the A's in 2002, followed by 4 losses to the Angels. So that would be what, 6 right there?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 3 losses to the Yankees in 2003, 3 more in 2004, 3 to the A's in 2006, 3 more to the Yankees in 2009, 3 more to the Yankees in 2010. Then I think they waited until
the wild card game. So there's 1 in 2017.
So 22.
So 1 more loss there.
And then 3 to the Yankees.
Yep.
3 to the Yankees got
25.
swept, and then 2 to the Astros.
Okay, so
27.
27. So
I believe 27 then.
So I'll double check this.
That
6.
We need a
12
fact checker. We need an AP fact checker
18,
on that.
21, 22. So 6 and 27 in the playoffs since 1991.
Yep. And the Wild's what?
Let's not do that one.
No, but my point is, you kids
I know
deserve better. Sports Dad is telling you, you deserve more than this.
And that's the whole mission of this. I mean, on Purple Daily, it's we want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we all die. Here we shorten the mission here. We talk about all Minnesota sports on Mackey and Judd, and we want titles. We want titles.
Yes. Playoff runs and titles.
Like, you guys are so negative. No, I think the rest of the media has become so coddling and positive by and large. Not every single media member, but God bless Sid Hartman. I'm not going to sit here and name a bunch of names, but we are realistic and we demand a little bit more, I think, than the average Minnesota media member. And it's like, you guys are so negative. What do you mean? We want championships. That's not negative. That's the most positive thing you can possibly say.
Viewers and listeners deserve this.
100%.
I'm going to say something that's really, really sad right now, but you wouldn't believe what a World Series parade is like.
Dude.
I've been to 2.
I'm gonna get so hammered at that.
But they closed down 94. They go from Minneapolis to the Capitol. You wouldn't believe. I can't even articulate, and I don't even know for the Vikings, for instance. But I'm just telling you, I've seen 2 for the Twins. Yeah. It's not this is a fun little parade. This is serious stuff. Yeah. So anyway, you deserve this.
I like it. All right, boys. You want a travel nightmare story here?
Okay. God, I can't wait.
So we can rip the music, but I'll give you a statement to start out with, which is always double check the itinerary. Okay.
Okay.
So we've all had. I'm sure you guys have had. There's just sometimes things go wrong when you travel, and last week we talked about. Right before the plane was about to take off, the guy in the middle seat asks me, all the cubbies are closed, we're all ready to rock and roll. It's last minute, he wants me to change seats. That was more of a dilemma. He wanted me to move up 3 rows so he could swap with his friend or whatever. This was more multiple things happening and us just fending off the universe, some of it self-inflicted.
Amazing.
So let's start with, I went just a 4-day amazing trip out to the Rocky Mountains, Estes Park last week. Try to get one good, refreshing, reset vacation in before the fall football season where we all just dive in. We're all in. Purple Daily, Mackey, and Judd. It's a blast, right? So this was the reset, refresh, just relax, drink a bunch of seltzers, drink a bunch of Surly's, and go hike around in the mountains. We went whitewater rafting. Like, it was one of those trips, just a blast with some family. So we were kind of in a rush to book a last-minute car rental. We initially had a shuttle set up to go from the Denver airport to Estes Park, but then the family that was out there said, hey, actually, the SUV that we rented, we were going to shuttle out, and then we had a big SUV. We were just going to all use the same car. They got a smaller SUV than they were told, so they said, you guys might want to rent a car so we just have some space. All right, so thankfully, there were cars available, which, by the way, if anyone's been traveling the last year or so, car rental companies are selling off their inventory, so it's either A, impossible to get a rent-a-car last minute, right, or it's like ridiculous. It's like $300 a day or something. So, we found something, and I remember, and I'm not going to throw this all on my amazing wife because I also was involved, but said, hey, let's go. We're kind of in a tizzy here. Let's book something last minute. We're working last week, and in our mind, it was Hertz. We booked Hertz, which is an amazing. And I'm not going to name the other companies that are not going to be reflected well in this story, but Hertz is well known. And so we had it in our minds that we booked a Hertz rental car in our tizzy to book a last-minute rental car. All right, so the flight's great. We get into Denver, and we take the shuttle over to the Hertz rental car center. And, of course, inevitably, there's just a line out the door, right? So even like, hey, Jonna, you jump off the shuttle, run, get in line, I'll grab all the bags, and then I'll come meet you, right? Even with that strategy, it was like, so we're sitting there at Hertz. And this line is just crawling, and it's crawling. And our initial plan was we're going to go stop in Boulder for an hour and get some food and explore and then go over to Estes Park. It'll be great. Well, clock's ticking. It's like we're not going to have time for Boulder now. This is ridiculous. So in line for over an hour at the rental car place, okay? That's the only bad thing I'll say about Hertz in this because first of all, if Hertz wants to sponsor Mackey and Judd, all aboard,
more than
right?
welcome to. Yeah.
So the line was a little bit of a problem, but great facility, great bus, everything was great, and the people who are gold members, I'm sure, had a great time. So we get up to the front, and they're having trouble locating our reservation. What's the name again? It's not in the system. Can you say it again? So it was like for kind of a 5-minute back and forth dance. We just don't have your name in the system. Can I see your confirmation code? Yeah, here it is. It's right here. She goes, oh, that's not what our confirmation codes look like. Ours start with this letter. Yours has this letter. Oh, it looks like you guys actually rented through, let's call them Shady Car Rental Company, okay? That's what the Shady Car Rental Company is going to be the new car rental company that I refer to the rest of this story.
Okay.
And we were like, oh my God, like most like boneheaded oversight, self-inflicted thing ever. God, we had thought we clicked on a Hertz reservation, and instead we clicked on
X
through our sorting, like
Shady
Car Rental Company X, right? So an hour, and we were just sitting there like, oh my God. We literally just stood in line for an hour, and oh my God, completely self-inflicted. All right. So unlike other airports where the car rental setup is all centralized, this isn't.
Yes.
Every building is separate at the Denver airport, and so the Shady Car Rental Company X whoa, God, we have to go to that place now. You can't just like walk around the corner and it's there. It's like over a mile away. So we can either walk with all of our bags a mile, get an Uber, which is going to be expensive and take forever, or we can grab the Hertz shuttle back to the airport, hop on Shady Car Rental X shuttle, and then go to that. So it's like this. We're an hour and a half. So we hop on, take us back. We find Shady Car Rental X shuttle. Okay, it's empty. There's a woman who's driving and grabs our bags. And by the way, the difference between Shady X Car Rental Company shuttle and Hertz shuttle is like a Ferrari versus a wood-paneled station wagon with duct tape holding everything together. It was like straight out of a movie. Like, is this thing safe to be in? Yeah. What is this thing?
This is a Griswold vacation at this point. This is awesome.
And so we get on this shuttle, and the woman who's driving, I think she was pretty new. She was a little bit kind of timid, and she can't shut the double. We're the only two people on the bus. She can't shut the double doors from the driver's seat, because it's like jammed or something. So she comes back, and she's using the manual hatch above to try and shut it, and she's just struggling. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God. So I said, do you want some help? And she said, yes, please. She's like, thank you. So I get up there, I'm struggling. Finally, she grabs like a crank of some kind, like for leverage, and like cranks the door shut. And my wife and I are sitting there like, this is amazing. Like this is already like a train wreck. This whole thing has been a train wreck already.
Right.
So she finally gets the door to shut, and she goes to the next terminal, where of course there's like 6 people waiting to get on this small shuttle, and we're like, oh God. So 5 people get on, and we're waiting for the last person. And I see the driver gets out of the car. Something's delaying. Well, there's a woman in a wheelchair who needs to get on the shuttle. And the only way she can get on the shuttle is if you open the back door and use the hydraulic wheelchair lift to bring her on, right? So this woman goes over there, the driver, and I think this is the first time she's ever operated this thing. And she starts to move the hydraulic lift down. She finally figures out like how to open the back doors and like use the remote control, but it's like getting jammed. It won't come down. And so she's like trying to force it, like hitting the button harder. So what happened was the handle on the back doors to the van is this metal handle, and the doors weren't open wide enough. So she's like forcing the hydraulic lift to go down, and it bends the metal handle on this door out straight. So the woman gets on the wheelchair, she comes on the bus, but the problem is the door handle is effed, and the door won't shut. And so the hydraulic thing is like just kind of like loosey-goosey out the door, and the driver can't get the door to shut. So we're all just sitting there like, oh my God, what is happening? So I go back out there to try and help her again. And I said, you might want to call, like, is there someone else you can call? She couldn't get the door shut, so she couldn't drive away, right? And so we're all sitting there. She finally calls somebody else. A new shuttle comes up. Everyone gets their bags, and all right, we can just jump on the new shuttle. New shuttle guy decides, I'm going to spend 15 minutes trying to help this woman fix the handle on the door rather than just like continuing the shuttle train, right? So anyways, after 15 minutes, he finally gets the door to shut by like Jimmy rigging it somehow. And we're all sitting there like, oh my God, if this thing pops open and this woman with the wheelchair falls out, like, can you imagine the lawsuits, right?
Right.
So anyways, the door gets shut, finally get back on the road, and we get to Shady Car Rental Company X. We get to that headquarters 90 minutes later after initially getting in the Hertz line, right? Okay. So finally, that's over with, right? So my wife gets in line at this new car company, and she's the first in line. And this literally looks like a foreign country, like a third world country of some kind. There's one person working inside. It's a white unmarked building. There's no signage on the inside. There's one person working in the building, and then there's one person like washing cars, and that's it. It's just like this desolate land of nothingness. And so she gets up there. The guy couldn't have been more like rude. Like he's just trying to upsell you. Oh, you can't drive around in Colorado in that car. You need this car. It's like, dude, just give us a car. Please just give us a car. So we get the reservation. We walk out. By the way, as we're walking out, the woman in the wheelchair is sitting outside. She's like, yeah, they had to carry me off of they couldn't get the door back open and get the hydraulic down. They had to carry me off. Yes. They had to carry me off. Like,
wow.
2 people had to help me get off. So, all right. So this has already been terrible, right? This has just been the worst. So we get in the car. We throw our bags in. We're ready to rock and roll finally. And, it's a shady place when, you know how most car rental companies, as you're leaving, they do 2 things. They check your paperwork, and they've got that gate that's like, the arm that lifts up and down, right? Mm-hmm. So this place, we drive up. They didn't have a gate. They literally had a woman in like a 20-year-old red SUV that was just blocking the exit, and she would back up and move forward perpendicular to the exit, acting as the arm. And so she gets out of her SUV and she said, hey, can I see your paperwork? And we hand her the paperwork and we said, do you need to see an ID too? She goes, nah. She looks at the thing for like 2 seconds and hands it back. Literally could have been anyone walking in and just like grabbing a car, right? Didn't look at ID or anything. And so we drive out of the lot. We literally get a quarter of a mile down the road. In this car, a 2019 car, by the way, I won't say what brand, but it wasn't that old, but it had 52,000 miles on it over 2 years. It's probably been ridden pretty hard.
That's pretty good.
A quarter of a mile down the road, and this car starts beeping and lights flashing on the interior. System malfunction. And so we're like, and the air conditioning starts to turn to like a warm feeling coming out of I think we found that it was like looking at the emergency lights, it was like some sort of transmission failure or something. And so now we're like,
So are you on the side of the road now?
So I pulled a U-turn and just went back.
Oh, so
we're only a quarter
mile
so
away,
it
didn't
right?
stop. Okay.
So I go and turn back, and I go back in, and again, there's one, and so I'm looking for anyone else who works at this place. Literally, no one else to help. Like, there's just nothing. And so I walk back in, and now there's a line of like 10 people, and the guy behind the counter is helping them. And so I'm like, do I cut in front of all these people? Do I get back in line? Like, what do you do? So I got the paperwork, and he's looking at me. It kind of like I look like I'm just ready to. This was kind of funny and like, oh, this is just one of those days where you'll just kind of roll with the travel punches and tell the story later until system malfunction. And that's when I went from this is kind of funny to I'm ready to rage.
Right. Yeah, you'd be furious.
Yeah. So we get in, and I've got my paperwork, and the guy kind of looks, and he didn't like really recognize me. He just said, "Oh, if you're returning a car, just leave it outside and leave the keys in it." And I was like, "I am returning a car that you gave me 5 minutes ago. It's smoking outside, and there's a system malfunction." And he was like, "What?" No, he's like, "Come on up here." And I said, "Yeah, dude. We literally pulled up the light." He's like, "No, that can't." He was like pushing back at me, like, "No, that can't be possible."
No,
and I was like,
"It is."
I'm like, "Dude, I wouldn't be back here.
Right.
We would be in the freaking mountains. Like, I wouldn't be back here. Just please give us a new car."
Right.
And so from there, like, he just didn't say anything for the next 15 minutes while he typed things into the computer and got us a new car. We went on, after all this happened, we went on Google and just went and looked at reviews. You know how like the Google reviews and the Yelp reviews, it's always on a 5-star basis. Anything under like 3.5 is a train wreck because most people give 4s and 5s. This was a 1.5 on Yelp out of 5, and every story is this. It's like,
is this a nationally known place?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
And this specific place in Denver is like probably worse than the other ones.
Okay.
But we finally get a new car 2 hours later after all of this.
Wow.
Some of it self-inflicted, and we're off and on our way.
So what is the one thing that's weird about this is what's the deal with people telling you that they're going to rent you a car that's not going to work well in the terrain you're about to drive in? Because when we went to Florida the last time, Dawn and I were being upsold on a car, and literally the guy says, "Well, that car I'm about to give you, if it has to cross the Sunshine Bridge, I don't know if it can make it up the bridge." And I'm like, "Dude,
Then why is it even on your lot?"
I'm like, "Dude, then give me another car for free." Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that whole thing of like, we got cars here, I don't know if they're safe. Yeah. It's like, then it's your responsibility because I can sue you now.
Yeah, and then here's the other thing. Okay, so like we bring this car back that has a system malfunction, and it wasn't like when we restarted the car in the lot when we were like, oh, let's turn it off and turn it on and see what happens. It wasn't sure. I think it was like once you hit a certain gear, it was a system malfunction. But here's my question. They had nobody check. You know, most of the time they'll have someone come over, check it out, like look at your paperwork, and then go. They had nobody doing that. It was just leave the keys in the car and go. So we're pretty sure that car just got like put back on the lot.
Sounds like
he didn't ask any questions about what happened, what was the dash light, right? All that stuff.
Yeah.
So somebody else probably got that car and had the same experience after us. But like, whew, it's one of those travel days, man.
That is a hell of a story.
That's awesome.
Trying to fix
It's awesome.
the gate. Unbelievable.
So the rest of it was amazing, and it couldn't have been more fun. Just like hiking and whitewater rafting and everything, and just drinking seltzers until late into the night. But yeah. So if anybody else has nightmare travel stories, we would take them on this show. If anyone wants to like email us or tweet us or DM us your nightmare travel stories, I think they're interesting. So, all right, thanks for allowing me to therapeutically get that off my chest.
I'm glad you feel better now too.
Yeah. All right, that's a wrap on Mackey and Judd today. All we want are championships. That's all we want. So we're going to hold our teams to a high standard. Daily Vikings conversations on Purple Daily, YouTube, and podcast. So we'll see you over there hopefully later today too.